Hello everybody, this is Martin, Adult Program Coordinator for the Oscar Grady Library located in Saukville, Wisconsin. Today I will be sharing with you the story of one of our special collection of items dedicated to the history of Saukville. The story of AUDIOPHILE Records Inc., a record label that once was produced out of Saukville, becoming a significant chapter in the history of American music. AUDIOPHILE Records Inc. was the brainchild of a gentleman named Ewing D. Nunn, who was a man with a vision that today has become his rich legacy, which still lives on in many different ways. Born in the year 1900 in Texas, Mr. Nunn was the son of Henry L. Nunn, the president of Nunn Bush Shoes. Showing an interest in electronic and electric devices from early age, it is documented that he wants to receive his first radio operator license in the year 1916 at 16 years of age. This was followed in 1919 when he was already living in the Milwaukee area by receiving an amateur radio station license that allowed him to generate his own radio programs or signals. Soon after, he had his own radio business and did get involved in the manufacturing of several radio apparatus which were well marketed under the brand name E.D. Nunn Cascade or Nunn Landon Cascade and sold at various locations in the Milwaukee and Chicago areas. According to Fred Reynolds in his article Nunn But the Finest, published in the November-December 1954 issue of the magazine Music at Home, he did this until 1931 when he joined Harley-Davidson, producing the first radio receivers for police departments. Thanks to Harley-Davidson's archivist, we were able to find out more information about this, confirming that while he was not the sole designer of these radios, he was very involved in the project as part of a group of engineers that made the radio receivers for motorcycles a reality. As a man wearing many hats and with the restless and persevering spirit that characterized his whole life, but also with his constant interest and curiosity about electronics, he then set out to create the business Northern Signal Company out of Saukville, Wisconsin, which did specialize in manufacturing flashers, barricades, and electrical fencers. This business was located in a building still standing today in Saukville, which at one point was occupied as well by the Saukville Canning Factory. The Northern Signal Company business did operate there until 1965 under his ownership, providing employment to many people in the area. It was during his time as owner of the company that the making of AUDIOPHILE records finally took shape in 1947, out of his desire to produce records of the highest possible audio quality. For this adventure, his wife Frida was instrumental because the project could not be launched without her consent, something she eagerly provided, but also because she became a great assistant during recording sessions, as well as traveling with Mr. Nunn during his out-of-town recordings that will be produced under the AUDIOPHILE Records Inc. label. The first album to come out of was a recording of Harry Blondes and his band, which was recorded in Mendota, Minnesota in 1950 and cataloged as AP1. It is worth mentioning that he was to repeat his collaboration with Mr. Blondes, producing 2 more albums for his band. This record, which came out of Saukville, is the first one in a rich catalog that, while comprised mainly of jazz albums, it did produce other genres as well, being classical music, church choirs, sound effects, blues, and folk part of his portfolio. The list includes many prominent figures of jazz music like Earl Hines, seen here with Frida Nunn, who in Ken Burns' series Jazz was named as one of a small number of pianists whose playing shaped the history of jazz. Other artists recorded and produced by Mr. Nunn were classical pianist Margaret Berthel, jazz and blues pianist Nocky Parker, as well as cornetist Doc Evans, who was and is still as highly regarded in the Twin City jazz scene as well as throughout the country, even having an annual jazz festival named after him in Minnesota. Two albums that were not jazz recordings do deserve a special mention. In March 24 of 1963 at the Women's Club in Milwaukee, Mr. Nunn recorded three young guys from Minneapolis, John Kerner, Dave Ray, and Tony Glover, in what became not only AP-70A Blues, Rags, and Holders, but also an album considered today the coolest record of the 60s folk revival, according to Bobby Tansillo in an article for On Milwaukee in 2013 about this particular album. This beautiful blues album, recorded in Milwaukee and produced in Saukville, made the band to be quickly signed up by the record label Elektra, taking them to New York and launching their music career. Another album worth mentioning is a complete rarity as it is AP-20 Echoes of the Storm, an album that was supposed to be used as a resource for psychiatric sessions. This album contains in side A a recording of the biggest thunderstorm ever to hit the Milwaukee area in 1952, according to the album notes, followed by a succession of sound recordings in side B. I would like to remark that these before mentioned albums are just a small sample of a very rich catalog, which we may add that while they were all pressed at the Wakefield Company in Phoenix, Arizona, in a beautiful red ruby color with some variations throughout the catalog, 80% of those albums were produced here in the Ozaukee County in Wisconsin. The numbers are these. Around 66 albums were produced in Saukville, 17 albums produced in Mequon, and 20 albums were produced in San Antonio, Texas, where the Nunn family moved to at the end of the 1960s, after selling the label to Mr. James Cullum in 1969, and where they were to live until Mr. Nunn's passing in 1977. In the case of the Saukville albums, they used the address in which Northern Signal was based, and also it's worth mentioning that this place was used as a storage and distribution outlet for the albums, as it can be seen in these photographs. When it comes to the albums addressed in Mequon, Wisconsin, this is mainly due to the fact that in 1954, Mr. Nunn built a wonderful house there, having in his mind a greater recording studio space, which was really influential in the way the house was designed. This was to be not only their home until they moved south, but also it was a state-of-the-art recording studio that Mr. Nunn used to record several artists to be later issued as part of AUDIOPHILE Records catalog. Recently, as we were looking for more information related to this story and trying to find the locations in which it took place, we were able to find and get in touch with Mr. Paul Dumke, one of Mr. Nunn's grandsons, who not only possessed the whole catalog of albums, but also expressed to us that he would love for it to be sent to a good home and really honor us with his wish to donate the albums to our library. Today, and thanks to his generous donation, not just of the albums but also of a trove of materials including photographs, print catalogs, and various memorabilia, all these artists, first immortalized under this record label, are today at the library where they will be preserved for future generations. At the library, We feel really happy to have this honor bestowed upon us, and we would love to make this incredible resource available to anyone interested in the subject, either to those simply curious, to those interested in deeper research, facilitating access to the albums, printed material, and memorabilia as well. One of the steps we have already taken for this effect is a SoundCloud page we have created in which some of these albums can be listened to. But also we conduct several live playing sessions throughout the area, trying to share with as many as possible the achievements and legacies of Mr. Ewing D. Nunn with this piece of history involving the area that the Osage County is very fortunate to be attached to. We thank you for listening, and please share any comments you have on the comment section of this video. Thank you.